This is an iPhone 14 charge port replacement and back glass. As you can see, the charge port has something stuck in there and I just couldn't get it out. So we're just going to grab our P2 screwdriver and get this thing replaced. And before we get too far in the video, while we heat up the back, I'm going to introduce you to this video sponsor. This is this video sponsor, Cell Helmet, and they provided me with this Magnitude series case, which wirelessly charges through the case. And they provided me with this wireless charger so I can show you guys just how it works. And I wanted to point out, it is amazing. I did a break test video while I was wearing this and it didn't break. While we wait for the back glass to heat up, we'll look at the new part and see if it has everything we need, which it doesn't. It doesn't have the wireless charging pad on it, so we're going to have to remove that. And it's always good to inspect your parts before you put them on or start the repair to make sure you have the right part. I wanted to let you know too, is I'm going to heat it up for 10 minutes, but I'm also going to have to use a heat gun to pry off the back because the back is so shattered. This is the charge port, and I got it from mobilecentrics.com. The part's not serialized or anything, so it should go in nice and easy. This repair is anything but easy. Just saying. You'll want to use a star bit, Y000 screwdriver, PH000 screwdriver, and a standoff screwdriver. And I'll leave a list of all these tools in my description below. We're going to want to pry off the back with a metal pry tool. I try a suction cup, you always want to try. And then I decide that the chisel blade is probably the best for picking up the glass just to get my tool underneath it. And then also you'll want to apply heat with a heat gun. Make sure to not get the heat gun too hot where you're melting stuff inside the phone. You just want to also be really careful about the battery right here underneath where the camera lenses are. So when you lift up, use a plastic spudger to lift up the back glass while you heat it up. And I kind of like lift it off the table and just let gravity pull it down and not force it down. This thing is really hard to get off, so I would recommend taking your time so you don't break something. Don't let the back discourage you from the repair, because all you need is imagination in your heart and a little bit of practice, and anyone can fix something. You're going to want to open up from the left to the right because you don't want to pull off the cables by accident. And here's this beauty. Got the back glass off in one big piece, luckily. Sometimes it comes apart in little pieces of glass. All right, grab your Y000 screwdriver, remove the 3 screws. On the right is the one with the battery connector underneath it, the charge port, and the vibrating motor. And then the one on the left has the wireless charging pad, the flashlight, and the rear microphone. You'll disconnect the battery connection that's right here in the red, this longer looking cable. And I'll just grab my fingernail and then pull off the connector just like so. You can also use a flat end of your spudger. And then we'll remove the Y000 screw holding down the bracket for the back glass. And these brackets kind of like lift up in a lever motion. And this one I use a plastic spudger to disconnect it. And we got the back glass off, and now we can move on to getting the charge port replaced. Look at how shattered this thing is. It's a beauty that it came off in one big piece. Be sure to use a lot of heat, and then also make sure you use a plastic pry tool when you get around near the battery, because you don't want to accidentally pry into the battery with a metal pry tool. It could start a fire, especially when you're cleaning off the glass around the edges here. I'm going to speed this part of the video because I took my time, and I wanted to also point out I filmed this video on an iPhone 16 Pro. And look at how well detailed it is on this super zoomed in camera. And you can see every fine piece of glass sticking on the edge. Please share my video if you like what you see. And also leave me a thumbs up. So thank you very much. We got all the glass cleaned up. It looks perfect. There's a little bit of adhesive stuck to the edge, but it's going to be totally passable here. All right, let's get ready to take out the charge port. We're going to have to take out all these green PH000 screws and 3 Y000 screws at the very bottom. And I just wanted to highlight where they all are so you can go back to this if you forget while you're putting it back together, which is something I did during making this video. We're going to disconnect the charge port, and then we'll just start unscrewing. I'm not going to skip over the part of me unscrewing everything. I did edit it a little bit, but the reason why I keep that in there is that you can see every single step that I take to take out like the vibrating motor and the speaker and the microphone bracket. And I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a lot of steps for this repair. And if you're feeling like this repair is a lot of work for you, you're going to want to mail in your repair and email me, mark@worthItrepairs.com, and we can set that all up. I'll have you ship it to iCare Electronic Repair in Fargo, North Dakota, and we'll get this thing fixed. We'll keep an eye out for this cable that goes over top of the loudspeaker and underneath the microphone little bracket. And it is just adhered on there. I think it's just pressure touch sort of thing, and it might be related to the Wi-Fi antenna. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, you'll want to grab out your standoff screwdriver and remove all these screws in pink.
It's your favorite boy Alani on the beat.
To get the standoff screw unscrewed, you'll have to lift up this part of the charge port flex, and then you can unscrew it. So we'll get this metal thing out of here. I think it's connected to the Taptic Engine in some sort of way. We'll use our plastic spudger to lift it out, but we got to first remove these two standoff screws on the board, and then we can lift the board up by a plastic spudger and lift it up just enough to slide it out. You could break the phone taking the board out like this or lifting it up, so be very careful to not break the board. And if you have to, you might have to take it all the way apart to get it out. But I did manage to get it out without taking it all the way apart, and just unscrewed the screws, and it was enough to loosen it out. The real hard part is putting the thing back in and not having to take out the board all the way or just like lift it out. So I got my plastic spudger underneath and lifted it up like that. And to put it in, I put it in a different way to slide it back in because I was having issues with the flex cable. We'll get there at some point in the video. You're going to need to take this little plastic thing off the charge port because it doesn't come with that. And then you'll use your flat or your pointy end of your plastic spudger to push out the microphone bracket, and just carefully stick your plastic spudger between that Wi-Fi antenna and the plastic bracket. And then it will just come out like so. And that little thing just came off here, and luckily I didn't rip anything. I was worried I ripped something as my first time doing this repair, but I wanted to make sure I got it on video so I could show you guys how to do it. And then I also will know how to do it forever now because I made this video. I'm a great explorer, exploring inside phones to see what no one else has seen yet. All right, anyways, you'll get these Y000 screws up around the edges of the frame, and then two PH000 screws, like always, down by the charge port. And you'll want to grab some tweezers and pull out the screws. And you want to keep in mind that the screen is also connected to the charge port in a way that it's held on by a bracket. So you want to be careful to not re-yank it out and break the screen or something while you're pulling this out. And I also recommend just using heat instead of alcohol to pull out the charge port. I used a plastic spudger, the flat end, and just kind of worked my way on the bottom of the charge port, and then you lift it out just like so. It's kind of out of the camera angle here, but you just lift it out towards you instead of straight up. Now we have the new charge port, and you want to lay it down in the charge port part first, and then you slide it down over the bracket that holds down the screen where the P2 screws screw down, and you got to like kind of snap it in, and then you'll screw down those two PH000 screws, and then work your way around the edges with the Y000 screws and put those ones in as well. Wanted to point out that I was using some Bob Ross's quotes during this, And I wanted to say, it's important to do something every day that will make you happy. And repairs make me happy. So here I am repairing this phone for you. And know what makes me unhappy during a repair? Is when I have an impatient customer. That is one thing that makes me unhappy. All right, well, anyways, I am just gonna put this bracket on, and it's really finicky, gives me a hard time. It really took me back to the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 8 days when you had to kind of hold something down, screw it down, unscrew it, screw another thing down, unscrew it, screw it down again. Just like it took me back to the iPhone 6. I really dislike this charge port assembly. So I recommend keeping your old parts so then you can look at it and see how the flex cable is folded and such, so then you can make sure it folds up just correctly. And I figured you guys took it apart already, so you probably can get it back together. And this is the hardest part, where you got to lift the board a teeny little bit, not too much, so you don't break something, and slide underneath this little metal bracket here that holds it down. I was able to get the bracket in, but if you can't get it in, you'll have to unscrew the board more and lift it up as gently as you can, just so you can slide this thing right underneath. It is your SIM card tray in phones that aren't in the US, and I have a US version, and they just like to put funny little weights inside of them now instead of something else. Like, I don't know what else they could add to the phone. I am not an inventor like that. I am a repairer. All right. Well, anyways, we're going to connect the charge port, and hopefully everything hits on there flush because we got everything screwed down. All right. Anyways, I thought about it. We actually don't want a weight inside our phone in the US. We want a SIM card tray. We want that. Gosh, I don't understand why we got to get an eSIM. I have so many horror stories, I guess. I don't know, just a couple now, but it's gotten better, but just eSIMs are the worst in the repair world. Once we've connected everything, we'll connect the battery, and we'll also need to connect on the charger while we have the back off and test the phone and make sure everything's working. And I'm going to leave the testing out of the video because that's my customer's privacy. But after we test it, we'll turn it off and we'll disconnect the battery and we will work on the back glass. All right, use a Y000 screwdriver and remove the bracket from the back. And then you'll lift it up with your fingers or some tweezers and just slide it out just like so. And then take your screwdriver and poke a hole right where the flashlight is. And don't poke it too hard because you don't want to break the flex cable. Anyways, you got this metal bracket that you'll have to take off. You kind of bend back the bracket. And then you have to bend it on both sides with some tweezers. And it's going to go flying somewhere. Hopefully you can find it. If you can't find it, just lay down some extra adhesive. And I recommend using liquid adhesive. But for now, we're taking it off. So we'll use a little bit of alcohol and our flat end of our plastic spudger to lift up the cable gently so we don't rip anything by accident and then have to replace this too. Well, we'll use our flat end of our spudger and just work our way underneath the flex cables. And I checked out the part before I decided to do this part where I take my tweezers and then break the heat absorbing tape. And then I think that's what they call it. I'm not quite sure, but it can take a lot of heat. So when you heat it up with the heat gun, you can give it a little extra torching, but I wouldn't torch it too much so you don't ruin your flex cables. Unless you have heat tape, you could put heat tape over it if you really need help getting it off, and it is held down with some super adhesive. Just a reminder, you can do anything you want. This is your world. Dang it, never mind, Apple. We need SIM card trays in our phone. Maybe the iPhone 17 will have a SIM card tray. That'd be really cool. Then I would feel like this is our world. But we're able to fix this, and it was worth it. So please like and subscribe and share my videos. It's much appreciated. Check out all my other videos. I even have some newer stuff of the iPhone 16. I had a lot of fun using the iPhone 16 in my videos, and I also filmed this whole video on an iPhone 16 Pro in 4K. Woo! I forgot to say, I periodically try to clean off my desk because I don't want to scratch up the screen while I'm laying it down, putting the back glass on. So we're going to put the back glass on, and we didn't get a back glass of pre-cut adhesive. So we had to lay down strips of adhesive around the edges and then liquid adhesive on the very edges, just so we could try to make it as water resistant as possible. Because you never know when someone's going to drop their phone into the toilet. Ugh. Gross. All right, well, we'll connect the battery, the back glass, and then these brackets, you got to kind of put them on at an angle and then kind of lay them down. So then they fully lay down flush to the phone, and pull all your adhesive and put your liquid adhesive on. Hopefully your back glass that you get has pre-cut adhesive, or you bought the pre-cut adhesive that comes with it. Hopefully you found my guide helpful. You listened to it all the way through to the very end. So I hope you would subscribe to my channel. It would motivate me to do something epic.